There are some big developments in the hush money trial. That is Donald Trump's hush money trial, where he funneled money to a former porn star who he slept with in order to keep her quiet about said affair, and funneled it through his personal fixer, Michael Cohen. Remember this one? This is like the OG case. And it is in fact a criminal trial, not just a civil one, as we have seen in a lot of his other cases. There might be jail time involved. So wherever you stand, wherever you put this one, I used to have a Stormy Daniels 2020 t-shirt personally. I stand real hard for Ms. Daniels, but there are some developments, and specifically, Donald Trump wanted to prevent Ms. Daniels from testifying in this case that she's relevant in, as well as Michael Cohen, prevent him from testifying. That didn't go down so well with the judge. No, the New York judge on Monday denied Donald Trump's bid to keep his former lawyer Michael Cohen and adult film star Stormy Daniels from testifying in the former president's criminal trial related to a 2016 hush money payment. The judge in this case is Judge Merchan. He placed some restrictions on Daniels, one being that she can't testify about a 2018 lie detector test that she took. But on Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, he can testify to anything he wants, and his role in this scheme, again, to pay Daniels off. Trump didn't want either of them to testify, which is ridiculous. I would have put some restrictions on Stormy Daniels in terms of how much she can describe Trump's junk, because don't nobody want to hear that.
Before we continue with the story, we depend on members to keep on going. Don't wait. Click join now on YouTube.
There's a little bit more, but Yasmin, on this stuff, I mean, this is like one of the biggest, this is one of the biggest cases facing Donald Trump, and he tried to prevent two of the witnesses who were involved in it from actually testifying. He's losing that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so a lot going on for Trump right now. I remember when this whole thing first came out with Stormy Daniels forever ago, and people were saying that this woman might actually be the one to take Trump down, whatever that meant at the time. But then she sort of died down. The story died down in the press, but now she is back with this. The story never actually went away. The thing to remember about this trial is that it's happening at a crucial time for Trump as well. He is the nominee for the Republican Party. He's going to be on the ballot in November. He needs to be campaigning right now. And this trial is going to really take him off of the campaign trail. So he's going to need to get a little creative on how he goes forth. And then also keep in mind that Michael Cohen, who he's trying to prevent was trying to prevent from actually testifying on the stand, he's already served jail time for his involvement in this particular crime.
Absolutely. And so he's going to try and get off on something that his fixer already served time for, which is ridiculous. I mean, Michael Cohen is kind of a, he's a loose cannon, but at least he had a little bit of integrity, unlike, well, we're gonna talk about Rudy Giuliani, but a little bit of a refresher. Again, this case was brought by, wasn't brought by, but is being overseen now by the DA Alvin Bragg in Manhattan. And it alleges that Trump falsified business records to hide money he was paying to Cohen to reimburse him for $130,000 Cohen paid to Daniels in the closing days of the 2016 presidential campaign, again, to keep her quiet about their relationship. Another loss in this case, and this is sort of in the legal weeds, but it's interesting, is just his entire defense around this case, because Merchan didn't sign off on what is known as a partial advice of counsel defense. What that means is the advice of counsel defense means that you can say, oh, I was just following the advice of my counsel, of my lawyer, in this case, Michael Cohen. But when you claim that, you also waive attorney-client privileges and expose the communication you had with that lawyer to the defendant. So in this case, to the state of New York, or to the city of Manhattan, I guess, more specifically. And they didn't actually claim defense of advice of counsel. Trump's attorneys said they planned to argue their client didn't think he was doing anything wrong paying Cohen back in transactions that were listed as legal fees because of his, quote, awareness that lawyers had been involved in the talks. They said Trump wasn't asserting a formal advice of counsel defense, which, as I mentioned, would entitle prosecutors to more information about his communications with his attorneys. Merchan said Monday he was rejecting that defense, again, the judge, finding that if he didn't, it essentially would have allowed Trump to get benefits of the advice of counsel defense without the obligations that come with it. And you can imagine he wants to hide all of the communications with Michael Cohen because or any other lawyers that he consulted on this, because they probably would show that, yeah, the dude hid money on purpose. Like he back channeled this in order to, again, put his thumb on the scale when it came to the election. However, there is a small win on this, which I guess is a win for all of us who don't want to hear this at all anymore. Trump had a success in Merchant's filing another piece of evidence he argued should be kept out of the trial, which was the Access Hollywood tape. In a 2005 hot mic audio, remember, Trump could be heard saying he can grope women without their consent. Merchant said prosecutors can elicit testimony on the tape that contains comments of a sexual nature, but they can't enter the tape as evidence, which it's not really relevant in this case, Yaz. Like in my opinion, that tape is more relevant in the E. Jean Carroll tape, trial, which he already lost a million times over. Again, a civil trial, but just on where this all goes, it's not clear when the trial is going to start. It was scheduled for March 25th, but Merchant on Friday postponed it until at least mid-April after federal prosecutors in Manhattan belatedly turned over more than 100,000 documents relating to Cohen's role in the case. That's a lot of sifting. Look, I don't do law, but I read a few pages before I fall asleep every night, and that seems just like a lot to go through. There is a hearing scheduled for next week to discuss the matter in terms of when it's going to actually start. But yes, I mean, this could be the thing. It seems so small in relation to some of these bigger things, but hell, man, get him on anything you can. And I still doubt that he's ever going to see the inside of a jail cell, unlike Peter Navarro, who I believe today has to report to prison.
What a day. I didn't realize that was today. That's
a beautiful day.
I agree with you, though. I don't think that Trump will ever see the inside of a jail cell. I would be very, very surprised if he actually does end up in a jail. But that said, he could still lose this case, right? And there could be other penalties against him. I also agree with you that the Access Hollywood tape is a damning piece of some kind of incriminating evidence, but it's not specifically relevant to this case. And another thing that I want to point out, and you kind of touched on it, is that there is a distinction. This is a case about falsified documents. It's not about Stormy Daniels, even though it keeps being brought up and mentioned as the Stormy Daniels case. She's not the one suing Trump. This is about false documents.
Yes.
And the defense argument about how Trump was just trying to take the advice of someone like Michael Cohen. He was just following what his lawyers told him to do. It sounds sort of like the Fox News defense whenever Fox was trying to say, we didn't lie. We were just saying what other people who were lying was saying, and we were reporting on that. So it's like an indirect way of trying to evade accountability, but hopefully the judges will see through all of that.
Yeah, and we're gonna get Stormy Daniels back on the stand. I mean, she's been through a lot, and I have to say, like, we're in a very different world than we were in.
She's been through a lot. That's a nice way of putting it, yeah.
I mean, number one, had the misfortune of deciding to sleep with Donald Trump, but then, everything else. And again, we're just in a different world than we would be in the 90s when it's like, oh, a porn star in political life, and like with a politician, like she would have been destroyed. And yes, the right has tried to destroy her, but she is very much doing the opposite and sort of owning her own power. She's like using this to tour. Like honestly, I stand Stormy Daniels. I like her a lot. I know she's been through a lot, and I wish her nothing but the best. Almost just personally, we've seen what E. Jean Carroll has been through. Stormy Daniels is kind of the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, of all of this. But anyway, we shall see. We'll be on this story.